Hey, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. So hopefully at this point you have created the ratchet using our DXF file insert. But the ratchet doesn't do us a whole lot of good without a paw. So let's go ahead and get that created. So let me start the Torchmate software here, get it pulled up. And we are looking at, on your barbecue project plans, this is part letter N. That is N as in nanotechnology. Could change the future of the world. Who knows? We'll see. Anyways, we're going to get going with part N, which is our paw for the ratchet to stop. It makes the whole thing work. Allows the grill to go up easily when cranked with one hand, but to get it down, you have to let the paw free fall down in order to get the grill to a lower height in order to get the perfect char on the outside of your steak. So let's go ahead and get that guy created. If you don't already have your project plans out, go ahead and get those, and let's take a look at that so we have some dimensions. Now, there's multiple ways to go about creating this, and if you have a better way, that's fine with me. As long as the end result works out, that's what we're really looking for. So that's kind of what's on tap for today. If you watch this tutorial and you say, you know, Mr. Fay, I think I could really come up with a better way to do that, you're welcome to try and do so, and I'd be happy I'd be happy for you to inform me how you did it. But this is the way we're going to do it now, and I know there's multiple ways to do it. So what I'm going to start with is a rectangle, and I'm going to start with kind of the bottom part of the paw. We will be welding a slug onto this to get some counterweight to it, but we'll be cutting that piece out on the bandsaw and welding it to this piece that's going to be plasma cut. So as long as we have this part correct, we're in good shape. So a couple of things. We're going to do a rectangle first, rectangle command over here in my shapes tool, and I want to set the height. This part is 1 inch, so I want to set my height to 1 inch. And then the width of this part, if I set it to it says on the plans that it's 1.66 to the center of the arc. So let's go ahead and use that. So we'll just go 1.66. It's actually probably 1.65 with some change. It's rounded it up to 1.66, but that's fine. The plasma is not super precise, so that's going to work just fine for us. Okay, so we've got this guy created. If we click on here, after we're out of the rectangle tool, you'll see that we have our overall object height and our overall object width. So that's good. Now, what we do want to do is curve this end right here to put a tangent arc on this one. So it's probably going to be easiest if we anchor this thing somewhere. I'm going to go ahead and just, the current nub, it defaulted to the top middle. So I'm going to go to the bottom left, and I'm going to anchor it at, let's just go 10 for the X, because I think that'll be easy, and 10 for the Y. And it disappeared. So, oops, I didn't get 10 there. What happened? Oh, I hit 3 instead of enter. There we go. So let's scroll out. Again, if you don't have the scroll key because you're using a Chromebook, you have the option here to scroll material. Oops, sorry, she scrolled. That was scroll selected. Zoom material, which gives you your whole material, and then you'll be able to find your part. So, and then if you want to zoom material, you can do so, and then zoom out a little bit there, or zoom out one more time, something like so. Okay. Now, what I want to do now is actually create the rounded part of the object over here. So I'm going to create another shape, and I'm going to use a circle this time, and I'm just going to randomly draw the circle out here. Now, the radius of that circle I want the diameter to be 1 to match my part. So the radius is half the diameter, so it's 0.5. Okay. Now, if I set my nub to this one, also at 10, so my Y position is at 10, it should put it up even. And if I set my overall distance here at 11, excuse me, it's going to be 12.66 because, no, it will be 11 because we had the bottom left corner. Well, let's see. The bottom left corner, remember right here, this dimension is 10, 10, 10 on the X, 10 on the Y. So if I make this bottom corner 10, oh yeah, okay, that made it tangent here, which makes sense. But in my head, I did my math wrong because I don't want it to actually be tangent here, right? I want to subtract the radius, which is 0.5. So I want to actually change this to 1.66, and we'll hit enter. Okay. This is what we're actually looking for. So if you want to go ahead and pause your video and go back and do this real quickly, just so you can see. So let me go through these again just to review. I kind of did that a little shaky, and I know that probably was not real clear. Here's my rectangle, and I put its bottom left corner at 10, 10. And its width, or excuse me, its height is 1 inch. Its width is 1.66. So that was one shape. The circle that I drew is a 1 inch by 1 inch, so it's a 1 inch diameter. And I used the bottom left nub again, but it's 11.16, and that's because we subtracted the radius, which was 0.5. Okay. So that now I have two separate shapes. And also, if your default does not have them filled in like this, feel free to go over here to View and click the Show Fill, or the hotkey for that is Alt-S. So either way, now if I do it this way, you can see there's my rectangle, there's my circle, and they're not filled in anymore, so I can see them individually like this. What I want to do is weld those together. If you remember back to when we were doing our other tutorials, we were able to weld parts together. They're gray right now because I don't have anything selected, but if I select both of these parts, I should be able to get my weld commands. And remember, we have the XOR, we have the AND weld, or the basic weld. For this case, we just want to join these, which would be a basic weld, and we just click that button, and now we have the bottom part of our paw, okay? And it's dimensioned correctly, and I'm pretty happy with the way that that turned out. Okay, if at any time you need to pause and rewind, that's the beauty of watching these videos and working with this tutorial on video, is that you can pause and go back, rewind, do this part, get your drawing to this position here. If you wanted to draw this at 0, 0 instead of 10, 10, you could. It doesn't really matter as long as you get the shape, overall shape when it's complete. If I click it here, you'll see that it should be about 2.16 inches wide and 1 inch thick. That's the main one that's really important. Actually, if it's a hair off on the length, that's okay, but we do want it to be about 1 inch in height for what we're doing here. Okay. Now, if we look back at part in to see the next part that we have is about 2.5 inches in length, and it is still going to be 1 inch wide. So we're going to start with another rectangle. So go back over here to my shape tools. I'm going to drag in a random shape at first, and my width now is going to be, it's 2.41 is what it shows on the plans. You could stick with that. I don't know how, remember these plans are drawn by a former student, so I don't know that 2.41 was exact. I think we might have a little bit of wiggle room to work with that. I'm going to go ahead and just make it 2.5, so it's a nice, easy, round number, and make that the width of the shape, but I do want the height to be 1 inch because I do want those to match. Okay. Now, the angle at which this is going to be at, we want it to be a 45-degree angle, but 45-degree right here would make an acute angle, and we want an obtuse angle. So I actually want to go 45 on the other side, which would be 90 plus 45, which would be right there at 135. So I'm going to rotate it around to get that angle on the paw. Okay. So I'll click there, and now I have this part, and I can drag it down. Well, real quickly too, let's grab here and let's see that we have, you'll see that the width is, in the way that I ended up drawing it here with my 2.5, it changed it to 2.47 because it's at an angle, so widest point to widest point, as well as top to bottom. So what I'm going to do, instead of making this one exact, I'm going to eyeball this one. So I'm going to bring this down, zoom in on it a little bit, grab it and move it until it is at what we probably should do, so that we make sure we don't end up with like a little point height-wise, is go ahead and click here, and let's grab, we have the bottom left corner nub, so this is still this nub. Let's make the bottom nub 10, or whatever number you chose to use. That makes this point, very bottom point, and this edge the same. So now, rather than use the mouse to drag and move this around, or the mouse pad, if you just arrow over, if we have the part selected, we should be able to hold the arrow. Right now I'm holding the right arrow key down to move this over until it intersects pretty close to that point. Now, I can't type in a physical dimension for this point because it doesn't line up with one of my nodes. This node here is not going to be a value that works for me, and this one is not going to be a value that works for me either. Now, we could do some trig and calculate that, but we don't need to. We can just eyeball that, and as long as it's pretty close, you're going to be fine. And if you're using the arrow keys, it should end up, it'll jump around. You have a pretty fine-tuned adjustment, as you can see here. I can tap this key. I'll tap it loudly so you can hear. It's pretty fine-tuned adjustment to get it eyeballed where it should go. Okay? And at that point, I will click off of this part. And I have the two shapes. I want to do a basic weld to get those welded together as well. So I'll highlight both of them and go back here to the weld command, basic weld. And that looks pretty good. Let's go to view and do our show fill material just to make sure that we have those parts correct. And it looks good. Now you'll notice on the plans that there is a hole in this, but the diameter of that hole is 1/4 inch, and the plasma cutter does not cut a very accurate 1/4 inch diameter hole. We'd be much better off to drill that after the fact, which is what we're going to do. So we're going to weld the 0.625 diameter bar, 5/8 bar. We're going to weld that on the side. We'll cut that on the bandsaw and weld it on. We are also going to drill that 1/4 inch diameter hole to mount it to the channel iron after we cut these out. So we're going to cut out the ratchet and the paw just like it looks here. So what we want to do now, just like always, is save this guy. And this time I'm going to save it as. I'm going to go back, navigate. This time it defaulted to the correct folder, but remember, your folder, you need to always click up here in the save in and drop this arrow down right here and choose your P drive. So not the one that says your name. This one says Timothy Fay. That's incorrect. We are looking for the one that has the P. That's the one I want. That is my P drive. If I click in there, I can scroll down to my Metal 2 folder, double click in there, and scroll down or scroll around, make sure I have this part, this ratchet that we created in the last video. This one I'm going to call the BBQ Pawl. Alrighty, that looks good, and I'm going to save. And if you have that saved in there, you are done with the paw. If you have the ratchet, let's go ahead and open the ratchet. Go to File, Open. Tells me if I want to merge files to use import, which would be a good idea here. Maybe if I wanted to cut these out as a pair, I could merge it. But for now, I'm just going to open the ratchet and look at it. So I'm going to navigate back to my folder, students, or excuse me, I'm in students. I'm going to go to the P drive, find my Metal 2 folder, and there's my ratchet. So my ratchet looks fine. My paw looks good. I am done. So if I wanted to merge them, this is what I would do, the import command, and I would import the ratchet. I want the ratchet. I already have the ratchet open. I want to import the paw. So I'd go here to my P drive, and I'd go to Metal 2. And I would import the paw. Click where I want to drop it. Say we want it right there. I could move this now down over to here. And I could save this as BBQ ratchet and paw. Don't necessarily have to do this as long as you have the paw and the ratchet, but it is going to be one extra step when we actually go out to the machine to cut these out. We're going to have to navigate and open up two different files, versus this way I just have them both together as a pair, and I can click save. Probably even could play with the configuration to figure out how to save material, what would be the smartest way to cut these out if I'm cutting out multiples of them. But we'll do that together as a class. For now, I just want you guys to create the geometry so that you have everything you need to do these. Okay? If you have any questions, let me know. And be sure you click that like and subscribe button so that I can get the big bucks. All right, let me know if you have questions. I'll talk to you soon.